a wave of sadness came over me. And it's not just for those who died in the massacre or their families who mourn or the hostages that are being held or the families of the hostages. Even the people of Gaza, because of blind hatred that the Hamas have, just like the Nazis. Look at the destruction that the Nazis brought on Germany. And in the same way, the destruction, the war that they started, that they brought on their people, they could release the hostages, they could lay down their weapons, they could bring the Gazans into the tunnels, but no, they robbed from their own people. They're so heartless. And I just thought, heartlessness, it's blind hatred and heartlessness. And now there's demonstrations in Gaza saying, Hamas, get out of here. End this war. Stop bringing death upon everything and everyone. And it's not just here in Israel. They're bringing death on everyone and everyone. People ask, why do I carry the shepherd staff with me all the time? I sleep with it for the last, 536 days. People ask why, and I say, even when I'm not in the battle zone, I have to keep this with me because look what happens. Look at the Tishbe Junction. Look what can happen if you don't have soldiers that are ready to protect Israel everywhere. At all times, you can't let down your guard ever. You don't even fall asleep on the bus. Let me tell you what, soldiers are not allowed to sleep on the bus. They're supposed to be awake. And additional details are coming out about this terrorist attack. It was a combined scenario like a hit and run, but then a knife attack and shooting. And a terrorist was driving along the road. This is additional information coming out about this. He's driving along the road near the Tishbe Junction, saw a young man about 20 years old at a bus stop, and ran him over. Then he got out of his car and stabbed him. The man's injuries were caused by the stab wounds. Like he was okay after the car hit him. After this, the terrorist took out a long-barreled weapon, like this, and opened fire on a car that was moving in the oncoming lane. The driver of the car wasn't even injured, but his father, about 70 years old, who was sitting next to him in the passenger seat, was killed in the shooting. You just look at this and you got to be ready. You got to stand on guard. You got to be able to be alert in these times, no matter where you are in the world. Mike Waltz, security advisor, says that the Houthi threat to the U.S. has forced 75% of U.S.-flagged shipping to redirect from the Suez Canal to the much longer route of the Cape of Good Hope. Do you know how much money the world has lost because of these Houthis? They don't want to talk about it, maybe. Lost so much money. And not just America, not just Israel, other India, China, etc. Now, I think of Lebanon. I think of what the Hezbollah were planning. Look at this footage. Some new footage was released of the massive explosion. You remember that massive explosion in 2020 in Beirut? Everyone was thinking, what is going on with this ammonium nitrate that they're storing there right in Beirut? What were they trying to do to us all the way back then? Here we are, 2025. We're finding out some of that. Palestinian Authority Central Bureau of Statistics says a lot of Gazans have left already. Have left, and they are not planning to come back. Now, how many exactly, it's hard to say. How many are gone already? People are leaving, and many more are planning on it. So this whole thing of they are the thorn in Israel's side, and they always have to be for the jihadism and for the death and destruction that they deserve to be stuck in forever and ever. And the UN RWA, Refugee Watch Agency, is going to perpetually make them refugees. They're never going to be absorbed anywhere. They're going to stay in refugee status forever. Well, no. Trump says, I don't like that idea. I say, I don't like that idea. That's not where the future of Gaza should be. That's not how their future should be either. But I see there are people, even in America. Paterson, New Jersey declares itself capital of Palestine in the U.S. The mayor, Andrei Sayegh, he called Paterson, New Jersey, the Mecca of New Jersey, and he says the main city street is Palestine Way. And they're supporting the anti-Israel, boycott Israel, divest from Israel, sanction Israel. And it's just not good. That is not going to end well, my friends. Not at all. It's all the blessing of the Abraham Accords, all the blessing that is promised in Genesis chapter 12, verse 3. These are the things that are endangering that blessing, right? Trump warns Columbia University, combat the anti-Semitism fully or lose your funding. He's not messing around. He put 9 steps how to stop the anti-Semitism, stop the harassment, the assault on your fellow Americans, even if they're Jewish. Yeah, even if they're Jewish, you still can't assault them, and it's ridiculous. Universities in New York, in LA, in Chicago, in Boston are going to be patrolled to be sure that people are safe, because they're planning all kinds of. I mean, there was a huge attack planned. Remember the shooting inspired the 2018 Pittsburgh attack, and authorities were able to thwart some of those that were attacks that were planned. If you're not vigilant, you're not alert, you will fall. You will falter. And so there's real anti-Semitism in this world, and right now we're so glad for the massive helicopter deal. So the Lockheed Martin has produced these amazing Sikorsky CH-533K King Stallion helicopters to switch out our old Yasur helicopters. Our Yasurs are pretty good. You can literally drive cars into there and unload them. But we're going to call them the Pere, the wild mule, essentially. So that's going to be our new mode of transportation, it looks like. So thank you, America. It's amazing to see that the prime minister, essentially, of Hamas, who's also the financial guy, Ismail Barhum, was taken out in a strike from the Predator drone in the sky, and he is no more going to be doing the crimes against humanity that he did, and he won't be funding them. You know how much money goes through Gaza? So much money, but it won't anymore. And let me tell you this verse that really encourages me, and that's in the book of Obadiah, chapter 1, verse 18. The house of Jacob will be a fire, and the house of Joseph a flame. The house of Esau will be stubble. Remember Esau, they went against Israel. They will burn them and consume them. There will be no survivor for the house of Esau, for the Lord has spoken. Victory over the historic enemies. We got to choose where to stand in these times, because God is bending Israel like a bow.